junior high coaches, high school coaches, D3 NAIA coaches, NCAA coaches, anyone out there who's trying to get their athletes to the next level. In the first part of this series of videos, we talked about assessments. We talked about what the role of assessments play. We talked about different versions of assessments and how a junior high athlete might be assessed just by doing a body weight squat or doing skips, while a professional thrower might be assessed doing various exercises like a snatch, a clean, a behind the neck jerk, a bench press, anything along those lines. Those are various forms of assessments. But when we're trying to improve the overarching plan, the entire system as a coach, we start with those assessments. And then the next level that we have to look at is the second part of this framework, okay? And this is known as planning. And when we think through the lens of planning, there's a couple different factors that we have to look at. The first big thing is, what were the assessments telling us? Okay, so if I have an advanced thrower in this case, right? If we have an advanced thrower and I look at the individual and I say, okay, they've got a really good vertical, their clean's decent, they have a really good bench press, but their back squat's not as good. And if we see their back squat improve, I think their broad jump might improve. And if their broad jump improves in the past, we've seen them throw farther. Then we're going to try and plan for 8 to 12 weeks to push their back squat. If we have a junior high thrower and we're looking at this and it's like, how can we get this individual who just came out for the sport, they're a level 2 type athlete, let's say they're somebody who's athletic but not super, super twitchy, and we want them to just stay in the sport long term because we think that they can develop so that by the time they graduate high school, they're a 50-foot shot putter, okay? If we think about that individual, we've done the assessments and we've seen, hey, maybe they could do skips a little bit more coordinated. Maybe they could learn how to touch and go on box jumps a little bit faster. Maybe they can go from just doing 10 push-ups to doing 10 clap push-ups. Okay, so we start to see these individuals that might be a lower level or mid-level junior high athlete needs to be a little bit more explosive. We need to make them more explosive. And when we know that we can make them more explosive, we have to plan. Okay, so the first thing that I like to do when I'm setting up a plan is that I want to look at the plan and I want to look at the season and say, okay, when are the big competitions? Okay, so let's say that there's 2 or 3 major competitions. Even for a junior high thrower, there's typically going to be at least 2 big invitationals, and one of them might be like a county championship or, you know, a local CYO championship or a local state championship, even to a point. Okay, so we can look at those and say, okay, in 10 to 12 weeks, these are going to be like the important meets. Now, even at the junior high level, it's important that we just teach these athletes that, hey, the big end goal is that you stay in this for a while and we just get you to the point where maybe states and high school is more important or making it to the collegiate level is more important, right? But we still look at that and we say, okay, we have these big meets on these specific dates. Now let's work backwards and trying to determine how we can pick that low-hanging fruit along the journey. So we start to plan backwards. And what I like to do is first we would look at, okay, what are some progressions that this athlete might need? Okay, so in this case of a junior high athlete, we should have a cemented in progression specifically for how to spin, how to do the glide if they're a glider, how to throw the discus, okay? The next step would be having specific progressions for if they're going into the weight room. Are we going to be doing anything in the weight room? Do we want to teach these athletes how to back squat? Do we want to teach them how to front squat? Or do we want to just do plyometric work and body weight exercises? Well, let's create some type of plan that helps improve those specific movements. I'll use an example even in this case where some of the things that we do with progressions with some of our athletes that have gone to the Olympics and become an Olympic finalist, someone like Sam Mattis, we will use progressions in the sense that earlier in the year, we might be doing full snatches. And then as we get closer to the season, we might do 1-box snatches. And then as we get to peaking, we might do hip power snatches and we want less range of motion and more speed. But that's a sense of a progression to help him improve. And we can start this all the way back in junior high by just making progressions as easy as possible. Okay, and this even includes those technical progressions. But one of those big factors goes back to what are the progressions for lifts? Okay, so that we can work backwards and say during this 12-week period, by 4 weeks out from this big meet, ideally this kid can do a barbell back squat with an empty barbell. Okay, that's it. That's a simple progression. Let's teach them how to do a body weight squat. Let's teach them how to do a goblet squat. And then from the goblet squat, let's teach them how to do a barbell back squat. And by the end of 12 weeks, all of a sudden they've got a bar on their back. Okay, that's a good progression that will increase their strength, which will then lead to better execution inside the circle. They're going to be more coordinated and they're going to move better. That also can be done with something like drills. Okay, if we have teaching processes for a spin or for a glide, what I like to do is plan out and say, okay, I want my throwers, even in junior high, to take full throws the first day. It might be a glide, it might be a spin, it's not going to look amazing, but just execute that simple movement, okay? And then let's build upon that. And then the progression that we teach with the movement pattern is going to be part of the warm-up every single day. And by the time we're looking at the schedule and the calendar on that 12 weeks, we can look at it and say, okay, 4 weeks out or 6 weeks out from this first big meet, I want this athlete to be able to just step through the circle and take a full throw. Step through. Doesn't need to be fancy. Doesn't need to be crazy. We can use a technical model. We can show them videos of someone like Ryan Crouser, play it in really slow motion so that they can see where it needs to go, and use that progression on a daily basis. And then even to the point where we're looking at this 12-week plan, okay? Well, what are we going to do in a 1-week plan? What days are we going to be throwing? What days might we do throws and jumps? What days might we do throws and lifts? What days might we just do lifts or do sprints? Okay, if we lay out the week now, that helps us with our planning, that helps us with our execution, and then we can mine down even deeper and create a plan that is specific to that actual day of training. So now we can take it from 12 weeks to a week and then down into that specific day and say, okay, this is day 1, for example. On day 1, we are focusing on X, Y, and Z. That's what today is. This is how the 15-minute periods or 30-minute periods will be executed. This is today's plan. So in that first video, we went over the assessments. The second video here, we are going specifically over planning so that you guys can think about those different lenses as you're trying to develop your junior high throws team, your high school throws team, or even your collegiate throws team. If this is something that you're interested in, we put together a program known as the Perfect Throws Season. This is a 12-week guide that includes exactly what you need to get your throwers to the next level. Everything from assessments to doing your planning to implementation. And that's going to be the third part of this video. You can click on the link down below. You can click on the Perfect Throws Season. Head over to throwsuniversity.com. You can put this into your shopping cart and pick this up today to help you become a better throws coach. Until next time, peace.